hour. We've dedicated around an hour, 55 minutes for people to answer any question, to ask any questions. And if you do have questions to ask, if you can raise your virtual hand when the time comes, that would be great. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, who is Lone Beate Ebeltoft. And Lone is from Vardö in Finnmark, Sápmi. She studied marine biology and creates Sami-inspired clothes together with traditional Sami dress, known as gakti. From her area, she's of Sea Sami heritage and works as a spiritual and cultural speaker for a community. And also, just a reminder for the three speakers, the share time, the speaking time today will be 15 to 20 minutes, 20 minutes maximum. So around 18 minutes, I'll give you a gentle reminder that it's time to bring the presentation to a conclusion, to an end. So I'm going to hand the floor over to you, Lone. Very welcome. Great to see you.
Thank you so much. And really good to see you too, Francis. It's been some years. Yes, my name is Lone Beate. I'm the daughter of Edgar and Ranveig, and I come from the furthermost northeastern city in Norway, municipality. And from where I'm born, you go south to Russia. So if you look it up on the map, it's on the very tip, northeastern tip of Norway. Up there, there's actually no trees. There are a few dwarf birch that grows very small. So there's not many mushrooms up there, but Amanita Muscaria actually grows there too. I've been very, what do you say? My whole life I lived in 2 dimensions at the same time. My imagination has always been very open. I'm a single child, and that also helps, I think. I spend a lot of time out in nature, and I always been very curious. I always talked to the animals and the spirits and the land. So I had a very open communication from I was a little child. I'm born at that time when most traditions were broken in my tribes. I live or come from the Sea Sami traditions and the culture, and we met the, well, it's hard to say colonizers, but we met other people very early. The Sea Sami tribes have been living on the coastal areas of northern Norway for at least 12,000 years. There are stone carvings in the Alta region that Francis is very well known of, that shows boats with many people in, like at least 6,000 years old. So we've been traveling and meeting other people, other tribes for a long time. Our journeys mostly went north and east. We didn't go towards Europe, so that's probably why not so many people know of us. But Christianity hit us very hard, very early. So by the time I was born in the late 1960s, there was very little left of the pre-Christian culture in my families. And my grandparents were very Christian, and they were looking a lot down upon the Sami heritage because it was very hard to be a Sami. For about 200, 300, 400 years, there was a law in Norway who said that Sami people were not allowed to own any land. And the people who lived at the coast, we lived steadily in one area. And that law of the land was lifted in the late 60s, 1960s. So it was very recently. So when the spirits started to talk to me, and they wanted me to learn. So they started to teach me these things at a very early age. So my knowledge doesn't really come from tradition. It comes from the spirits themselves. Later, I studied, I've always been reading a lot. So I studied at the university, I've been studying biology, I've been reading a lot of the old scripts of the Sami people. But to remember that anything written about the Samis is written of someone from the outside and not necessarily with a good eye. So the Amanita Muscaria, this beautiful mushroom, you can see behind me. I was very proud that I can put it up on screen. It's an iconic mushroom that's known all over the world. It grows everywhere where there are trees, in the Amazon jungle, in Australia, in Africa, but it's very familiar in the Arctic regions all over the world. And of course, the reindeers and the connection with the Amanita is quite famous with most people. Yeah, so I started to read up on the science on the Amanita. She started to come up everywhere around me when I was like about 15, 18 years ago. She started to put up a light. So everywhere she was shining. And I find that this is how the plants speak to us. And everyone connects maybe to different plants, and maybe there's one plant for like 2-3 years, and then there's another one. So she started to speak to me. And in Norway, the Amanita Muscaria is very well connected to the fairylands. And it's on every children's book, every postcard with like this Santa Claus or these smaller nisse, we call them, these beings connected to nature. And when I started to read up, I found out that there's many people around the world who've been studying this mushroom, and that it might be the mushroom that is behind all these iconic god drinks. Like Dionysus is very interesting to connect to. You have the Soma, the Amrita, and all of these mysterious drinks that the gods drank. In the Norse mythology, we have Idun's apples. The goddess Idun, she has some apples that the gods get as gifts. They have to eat those apples quite often so that they don't grow old. And there's this myth about when Idun got stolen and the apples disappeared, the gods grew old. So they had to get her back because she was the only one connected to these apples. And the same you can see behind me. Da, 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 da. This is actually a church mural from a church in an old church in, I'm not sure if it's Belgium or Holland, or there's an ancient church who has this on the wall. And this is Adam and Eve and the tree of life. And the tree of life is pictured as Amanita Muscaria. And maybe the apples that Eve gave to Adam wasn't growing on the tree. Maybe it was growing under the tree. So there's a lot of thought stretching, mind-stretching mythology around there. So the Sami tribes, at least the ones in the northern Sami that I know of, they are very broken under Christianity. So these old knowledge that we used to have has been sort of turned inside out. So most Sami people, and especially the reindeer herders, are afraid of every kind of mushroom. They don't eat any mushroom. They say that it's very dangerous and it's only for the reindeers. So, of course, then I got very curious, because Amanita is like that red button that you're not supposed to push, you know? So, of course, I had to push that button. And so I started to pick her. First, I get to know her where she stands, and that's the best idea. You call her into your dreams. You start to meet her out in nature where she's alive. And for me, she's very feminine, but of course, it comes up like an egg, grows like a phallus, and then she bends out like a uterus. So, of course, the mushrooms are everything in one. The Amanita mushroom is very special. She can be very big, like kilometers of mycelia under the ground. And one mycelia can be over 3,000 years old. So can you imagine that being under the ground, sleeping there? Her whole life is there. And when she feels, or it feels that it has enough extra energy, she puts out these fruits that comes up on the earth. This is the only time that mushroom sees daylight. And my knowledge is that she so wants to be seen. She so wants to be eaten that she's shivering when I'm coming close towards her. And she tells me that, because I ask her, what can I give to you so you can teach me? Because in the Sami ways, we always give before we receive. And so I ask her, what can I give you? And she answers, give me feet to walk on, give me eyes to see through, give me senses so I can experience the light, the daylight in the world. So it's a very special being, this one. Yeah, Francis, do you have any, because I don't really know what you guys are wanting to know about the mushroom, and I asked Francis if he can come in and ask some questions that will put you on the right track.
Yes, thank you very much, Lorna. I was thinking about how it helps you to connect to the wider nature, how it helps you to connect to the spirits of the forest and open up your own psychic and spiritual abilities.
Yes, and this mushroom, as when you see it, she's shining red. She can be very big, like huge, like this. The biggest one I found was 35 centimeters. It's a big being, but it has this red color that often is a signal of warning, like that red button I talked about. So this mushroom is like any other medicine. It's medicine in small doses, and it can be toxic in big doses. So to be cautious about that. So my way of getting to know the plant medicines, these big teachers, is always to microdose. Amanita Muscaria is symbiotic. She's a symbiotic mushroom. She gives back to the tree. She has a huge mycelia that picks up traces of all the nutrients that the tree maybe not been able to get itself. Water from far away, she brings to the tree roots, and then the tree will give her the sugar from the photosynthesis. So she's a symbiotic mushroom. She lives on a huge area. She's connected to everything that lives on the ground or under the ground. And my experience starting to ingest a little bit of this mushroom, you just dry it around 30, 40 degrees in a mushroom dryer, and then you can turn it up a little bit for like 60, 70 degrees at the last hour. And then it gets dried like crackers. And then you ingest a little piece. And I did that for, these at least 15 years. And it sort of grew my own mycelia, if you understand. So my own senses were starting to connect with the animals, with the plants, with the insects. And it sort of took away the fear of the unknown. So sometimes I take bigger doses just to see what happens. And what I realized with Amanita is that I only understand what she gives when she leaves the body, because suddenly, after a night sitting out by a tree in this lovely northern nature, I might bring a thermos with tea from Amanita, and I can sit there all night drinking. And then when she leaves the body, suddenly it's getting colder, it's a little awkward, and I'm back to normal. So I think that most mushrooms, but especially Amanita, because she really wants to be seen by humans, they will connect you to the natural grid, like the World Wide Web that is in nature. And since this mushroom exists in every part of the world and in every myths and stories, it's a being that really wants to connect to people. And the biggest gift she brings is this safety, this thing that we are so needed today. Because today there's a lot of people who get depression, anxiety, they cannot sleep. There's a lot of thought patterns that goes in a loop. And she can really help with that. Like chemically, she connects to the GABA receptors in our bodies. It's nothing like any other mushrooms, or not the psilocybin or the other plants. It's something else. The ibotenic acid is said to be a neurotoxin, but this is like old science made in a very wrong way. They injected the ibotenic acid straight into the brain of mice with a needle. And then they saw that it accumulated in the brain. And then they said it's deadly toxic. But new science showed that the ibotenic acid molecules are, or the line of molecules, are too big to cross the brain barrier. So they just couldn't escape from there. And they would never enter in the first place if you ingest it normally. It's muscimol and muscarine that are the active ingredients. And the body will transform itself from ibotenic acid to muscimol and muscarine. But then you can get this nauseous feeling. So depending on your own body's biology and chemistry, because each mushroom can be as different as each person. And each person has a different chemistry. So it's very important that you do your own journey and start very slowly if you want to meet this beautiful being. For some people, it's enough to meet her in the forest where she lives and just honor her, talk to her, connect to her, and see what comes up. If you get ill, if you have this anxiety and these problems, you can try to make tea from her, but read up really well on the biology and chemistry of the mushroom. I got really ill a few years ago, and I didn't realize what it was. I got this, this rash on my foot. And I work as a Sami cultural guide in the winters in a reindeer herding family. We have guests every day, and then we have about 300 reindeers in an enclosed area. And so I live with them every day in the winter for 5 months, and I feed them, I train them, I tame them, all of these things. And then I get this rash on my foot in the middle of the winter, and I get really ill. I get a lot of twitches and pain. The doctors up here in the north didn't know what it was. And then after several months of testing, they figured out it was the Lyme disease. And they didn't recognize this rash that became quite big. And then Amanita was talking very loud to me. She said, "You need to let me heal you." So that was her gift to me. So I ingested a tiny bit, like 0.2 grams every day for a year. And the symptoms disappeared slowly. And we have this saying that the disease and the medicine is often very close, both to you and to each other. It's not scientifically proven, but she is a very deep ally of mine. And that was sort of, I think, her gift back to me. So she can, but I cannot, it's not scientifically proven, and it's quite hard to talk about it in public, because I'm also scientifically educated, and I know that these things needs to be proven in laboratory. It's quite hard. There's many what do you say? Many companies have tried, and the University of Oslo have had Amanita Muscaria on trials for about 15 years now. But they cannot grow this mushroom in a controlled environment. She is symbiotic. She needs to live with the trees, and these her chemistry is not stable, and it's the whole of the chemistry that heals the body. It's the same with many plants here in the north. There are some plants that you can, if you get one ingredients from the laboratory, you can get a lot of relief from pain, but you will get stomach aches and a lot of things. But the plant itself will heal the stomach aches. So it's just this knowing that this life force that exists in living medicine is totally different from anything made in a laboratory.
Thank you, Lorna. That's a great note to actually finish on. Thank you so much for a very interesting talk and presentation. And the atmosphere that you've brought is wonderful with the poster behind you, whatever it is, the image. It's really quite captivating. So thank you very much, and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. That's Beate Ebeltoft from Vadsø in Finnmark. So next up, we've got our second speaker, who is Kyrre G. Franck, who's also from the north of Norway. And Kyrre will speak to us this afternoon about his work with the spirit of Chaga, a journey to meet the spirit of the Chaga. Kyrre G. Franck, we know going years back to the World Drum Project, many years ago. Franck is the visionary of the World Drum Project and the Shamanic Association of Norway. And Kyrre has studied and received traditional knowledge in the Sami arts known as Nordivota. And if I can just say that roughly translated that, some people may refer to that as a form of shamanism today. So really great to have you with us, Kyrre. I'm going to hand the floor over to you for the next 15 to 20 minutes. Welcome.
Hello all. Do you hear me clear? I didn't have time to check the sound. Very well. I will try to also share a PowerPoint. Can you see it? Beautiful. Hello, my name is Kyrre, and today I plan to share with you some of the knowledge gained from interactions with the fascinating world of a fungi known as Chaga. Scientifically, it's referred to as Inanitus obliquus. This mushroom has been employed in traditional medicine for centuries, particularly in northern climates such as Russia, Scandinavia, Canada, and Alaska. And I would like to know if you have any previous experience with Chaga, if you can show by raising your hand. No. So this map is showing observations of Chaga up to March 2023. I can see that for Norway, the map is not very accurate, but it was what I could find on the internet to show the growth. So you can see there is a Chaga belt growing through the world. So what is Chaga? I have to fight with my screen here. There. Chaga is a parasitic fungi that grows on birch trees and is known for its black and charred exterior. Inside, it contains a softer orange-brown core rich in nutrients and bioactive compounds. Chaga's nutritional profile includes betulin and betulinic acid, polysaccharides, phenolic compounds, flavonoids, and melanin. It is also rich in antioxidants, which protect cells from free radical damage and may help strengthen the immune system. It has anti-inflammatory properties, which can be beneficial for individuals with inflammatory conditions like arthritis. Chaga has potential anti-cancer properties, but the research is still in its early stages, and it may also help regulate blood sugar level, which is crucial for those with diabetes or those at risk for developing it. Chaga might also be an aid for those with high blood pressure. However, it's important to note potential allergic reaction, oxalate content, and potential interactions with medications. Chaga powder contains between 2 and 14% oxalate, so daily doses over 2 grams of powder are not recommended. Also, it's good to know that chaga powder is really not well utilized by the body because many of the active compounds are bound to chitin. Chaga tea is generally safe in moderation unless kidney problems or osteoporosis are present. And tincture is by far the safest with less than 1% oxalate. Russian research on chaga has significantly advanced our understanding of this unique fungi. Soviet scientists were among the first to document chaga's potential anti-cancer properties, suggesting that extract could inhibit tumor growth and enhance the body's resistance to cancer. Chaga extracts have also been found to modulate the immune system, stimulating the production of immune cells and to fight off infections and diseases. Anti-inflammatory and antiviral properties have been identified, such as betulinic acid, which support traditional use in treating inflammatory and viral conditions. Chaga has also been studied as an adaptogen, helping the body adapt to stress and restore balance. Russian research in the 1960s classified chaga alongside other adaptogens like ginseng, noting its ability to enhance physical and mental performance under stress. So let's have a look at the historical use in Sápmi, the Sami.
Kyrre, before you go into that, there's a little bit of a muffle on your microphone. If you could try and turn your voice, it's okay. Just to adjust it a little bit, that's great.
Is it better?
That's better. Thanks very much.
Very well. So the historical use of chaga among the Sami people is not extensively documented, likely due to the decline in traditional knowledge transmission, and the influence of modernization. However, there are indications that chaga is used for its medicinal properties. Elders in the Sami community have recounted stories of their ancestors using chaga for various health issues, such as treating infection, boosting the immune system, and alleviating pain. This is on the Norwegian side. Chaga has also been used for moxibustion historically, as documented by Johan Turi. Although not documented, there are several suggestions that chaga has been used ceremonially among the Sami. On the Russian side of Sápmi, the use of chaga tea is an unbroken practice. We can also take a quick look at the modern use. Today, the use of chaga continues among the Sami and also gained popularity worldwide for its health benefits. While traditional methods of preparations are still used, chaga is also available in various modern forms such as tinctures, supplements, extracts, which is making it accessible to a broader audience. Overall, the Sami use of chaga exemplifies their traditional knowledge for natural resources and their holistic approach to health and well-being, integrating both the physical and spiritual aspects. And chaga is not only used for medicinal and spiritual purposes. My teacher taught me how to dye drum skin with sallow and alder bark, which is a common Sami technique. In 2008, we used chaga to color the skin of a drum called the wolf drum, which has visited over 1,000 places since 2006. And in 2010, I met Sami Noaidian drum maker Peter Armstrong, who also uses Chaga to dye drum skins. And to me, that serves as a synchronicity and a confirmation that also he chose to use Chaga for dyeing his drum skins. Since then, it has become a common practice among drum makers, both of Sami and Norwegian heritage, also in Sweden, I think. And also in 2010, the leader of Isagaisa Shaman Festival asked me about Chaga, and he wanted to utilize it and to market it. And he has later developed different products of Chaga and is running a successful Chaga company. The Sami view plants as kin, integral parts of their extended family, built on respect, mutuality, and a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of life. When plants are gathered for healing purposes, it is done with deep reverence, asking for permission and giving thanks. The Sami might engage in rituals or ceremonies to seek permission for the plant before harvesting them, ensuring that the plant spirits are willing participants in the healing process. Hunting for Chaga is an immersive experience that awakens the mind and senses, fostering a profound connection with the spirit of the forest. The journey involves stepping into the forest with an awakened mind and connecting with the spirit of the forest. The hunt requires patience and attunement, as the mushroom often grows on the wounds of birch trees, appearing as a dark, charcoal-like growth. Asking for permission and giving thanks is crucial when finding a Chaga growth, acknowledging the spirit of the tree, the Chaga, and the forest. And this practice acknowledges the spirit of the tree and showing respect for the life that you are about to harvest. And after harvesting, it is important to give thanks by leaving a small gift, such as coins, Chaga tea, or food at the base of the tree. We always leave some Chaga so it may grow back. And during the Chaga hunt, you often also encounter the harvestman, a delicate spider commonly found in the Norwegian forest. And showing care not to harm it is a part of the respect you maintain for all life forms in the forest. Gently relocating the spider, if necessary, ensures that we leave no negative impact on the forest inhabitants. So, when I first encountered Chaga around 2004, it had largely fallen out of use on the Norwegian side of Sápmi. I began discussing and asking about Chaga with many people, particularly within the Sami community. And that also led to a mission for me and others to reintroduce Chaga in the Sami community. Later, I learned that the use of Chaga was still being practiced on the Russian side of Sápmi. Through drinking Chaga tea regularly, I discovered that it enhances spiritual gifts such as psychic powers, clairaudience, and empathic abilities. And I started to understand that Chaga must have been used ceremonially. I found some historical clues in the Nenes tradition, where it was used in healing rituals and among the Khanty who used it as an incense in their rituals. And I consulted the Sami elder from Loppa, Finnmark, who offered to help facilitate the ceremony by asking the spirit of Chaga on how to conduct a Chaga ceremony. The Chaga healing ceremony came to life in 2008 during a 3-day ceremony in Finnmark. The ceremony was first conducted publicly in 2010 at the Isagaisa Shaman Festival, and it offers an insight into the spiritual relationship between humans and the plant kingdom, specifically the Chaga mushroom. And the Chaga ceremony is a deeply spiritual and meditative experience that connects individuals profoundly with nature. In Sami healing traditions, the effectiveness of plant medicine is understood to derive not only from the chemical compounds within the plants, but also from the spiritual energy they embody. The relationship between the healer and the plant is nurtured through continuous communication, offering, and rituals that acknowledge the plant's living essence. The Chaga healing ceremony, as practiced by myself and others, is centered around recognizing the spirit of Chaga, and this ceremony reveres the consciousness inherent within Chaga. It involves a lengthy brewing process of the Chaga mushroom, which is seen as a way to awaken and call forth its spirit guide. And the Chaga healing ceremony serves also as a bridge between the physical and spiritual planes, with ceremony holders engaging in hard spiritual work to facilitate the presence of the Chaga spirit at the sacred fire. This reflects an understanding that plants like Chaga possess a spiritual essence that can be invoked and communicated through ceremonial practices. Participants are encouraged to pray to the Chaga spirit before partaking in the Chaga brew, expressing their intentions for healing and establishing a reciprocal relationship with the spirit of Chaga. The ceremony holder's role is to maintain a focused energy spiral, allowing the spirit of Chaga to do the work and its healing magic on each of the participants. The Chaga healing ceremony is rooted in the understanding that humans are interconnected with the natural world, and plants like Chaga embody ancient wisdom and consciousness. By tapping into this wisdom through ceremony, humans can attain balance, healing, and a deeper connection with the cycles of life, death, and renewal that govern the natural world. In essence, the Chaga healing ceremony is a powerful expression of plant consciousness, where the spiritual essence of Chaga is honored, invoked, and engaged with through sacred rituals. The sacred ceremonial fire is consecrated before the ceremony begins, with juniper often used to bless the fire. While Chaga boils for 2 to 4 hours on the fire, the ceremony holders pray to the spirit of Chaga, summoning them to the fire during the boiling process. The boiling on the consecrated fire is what awakens the spirit of the Chaga. And the practice of burning incense or Chaga on both sides of the entrance can be interpreted in several significant ways. Burning Chaga on both sides serves as a protective barrier, preventing negative energies, spirits, or influences from entering the sacred space. Purification ensures that everyone who enters is cleansed from any impurities or negative energies they might carry. Balance and harmony are symbolized by creating an environment where the energies are balanced, promoting a sense of peace and equilibrium as participants enter the ceremonial space. Also, burning Chaga on both sides of the entrance, it makes a sacred space and marking the transition from the mundane to the sacred. And also it gives an experience of an aroma and the visual element of smoke, and that can heighten participants' awareness and presence and making it a ritual atmosphere. Do we still have time, Francis? Yes.
Yep, you've got, there's about 3 or 4 minutes left, Kyrre.
Okay. We can take a quick look into Chaga in other traditions as well. We can find Chaga in some Native American traditions. For the Ojibwe, Chaga is used in their spiritual practices, and it has been an integral part of pipe ceremonies, where the smoke from burning Chaga was believed to carry prayers to the spirit world. And Cree healers has also utilized Chaga in Mock Sebastian in the same, much of the same way as the Sami was using it. In Siberia, Chaga was revered as the mushroom of immortality by Russian shamans. It was believed to have the power to connect the practitioner to the spirit world, to induce vision and bring spiritual insights. Chaga was also used in ceremonies surrounding childbirth, where the mother and newborn would bathe in chaga-infused water, symbolizing purification and spiritual protections. And also in Chinese and Asian spiritual practices, reishi mushroom and chaga was used in some of the traditions there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kyrre, for a very, very interesting presentation. Okay, so that now brings us to our final speaker for this afternoon, who is Åsa Andersson Martti from the Swedish side of Sápmi, of Sami land. Åsa's presentation is titled Angelica as Protection Against Unwanted Surprises. And Åsa is an Indigenous Sámi and Tornedalen artist, healer, and academic researcher based in Kiruna in Swedish Sápmi. She's the founder of the historical and animistic pilgrim trail, Sami Trail of Tears, based on our mother's childhood memories. So without further ado, I'd like to wish you a warm welcome and greetings from here in Rovaniemi, Åsa, and the floor is yours for the next 20 minutes.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to this amazing gathering around the campfire. And I thank you, Lorne and Kyrre, too. It's super nice to connect to you. I don't know you from before, so this is great to be presented and introduced. So I am sitting in Kiruna. The Sami name of Kiruna is Giron. Giron is the mountain ptarmigan. It's kind of the whiskey. Francis, you know the whiskey, the famous rose, no? So that's the one. But this is white and very fluffy and super cute. This place is named of that. And I'm sitting on the slope of Haukivaara. Hauki is pike. So there is that's more of a tougher cookie than the Giron. And this is the place of no less than 7 Sami villages, and also the Finnish indigenous group of people called the Lantalaiset, who were more settlers, but cooperated with Samis, and we intermarried and everything. I'm a mix, by the way. I'm going to present the queen of plants, I must say, and she's sitting here. It's Angelica, and you see how she looks. She's bigger than my head even, or you can think that she's like a halo almost. And if you listen to the name in English, you can also see that, or hear, or understand that this is, her name is Angelica, archangelica. So you can't like dismiss her. She's a very prominent plant in the Arctic. And I sit in a cloud of her aroma perfume. You can't ignore that either. It's very strong, very spicy, green. It's a relative to celery. And all know celery. It's kind of this sturdy, like kind of hard stem, and it's also very strong. This is way stronger, I can say, but she's amazing and she's absolutely gorgeous. I will try to channel her. That's why I brought her with me. I picked her outside Kiruna, very close to the new part of Kiruna, because we also have this crazy story that because of mining industry, we need to destroy the old town, move a couple of houses and rebuilt it a couple of kilometers down this Vaara, this mountain. So, and she is coming closer to the new area. And what I want you all to understand is relationship. So I will not go into facts that much or biochemistry, because there are so good sources on the internet. So you can just Google it basically. And I will go into my family history, how I'm thought to relate and respond and communicate. That's my angle, the traditional one. And what I want you to see and pay attention to closely is what kind of plants grow outside people's homes or outside villages, cities, these places, your own house, because nature is totally generous and she wants to help us. And she's sending her ambassadors. And this is not anyone, this is an archangelica. This is a really strong one. And if you see, I don't know, but the stem is massive. It doesn't, it doesn't bend when it's windy. It stays erect. The stem is hollow like celery, but it's way bigger. It's almost like a tree. And Lorna, you said that in your parts, that's not that many pompous trees around, but this one is almost like one. She's you can see her from afar. She grows in moist places. She loves to grow by the creek, and she's also lowering. I heard Kyrre says that Chaga is lowering the blood pressure, and this is what she does too. And she's also good for everything bad, basically, you know, like an angel. And I will go deeper into that, but she loves water, and water is emotions. And I want you also to park this logical thinking side of the brain, because we are so primed and so kind of forced into that part, which you cannot separate from feeling. It's impossible. Otherwise, we would never have anxiety, panic attacks, stuff like that. Thought and feeling are inseparable. They move together. But we only look at the thinking part and suppress the feelings. Now we're parking the thinking part and we only go by the feeling part. This is how we communicate. So, also, I want to say that this morning, when I opened the door, I could sniff in the air, speaking of scents and sniffing, because you can sniff these plants from afar as well, as you can do with also chaga a little bit, and with this mushroom. So this is the first morning that I could sniff from the western winds, autumn in the air as well. So it's a good time to pick what's left of the greens and start to wait for even more autumn to rise and summer to go down, because then this life force will go down to the root, and then one can start to look for roots. But it's also very important to ask for permission. This queen, Angelica, she agreed to sacrifice herself to me. And it's also important because they're hard to break, but you cannot use knife, because the stem is hollow, it comes down water and stuff, and it's easily destroy the root, because the root can come back. It says that in some places that it's only a 1 year old or maybe a 2, but this one is at least 5 year old. When I asked her, she's been around, this is her 5th year, and that's starting to be the end of her. But people says that they can swear that they saw 12-year-old Angelicas as well. So you never know. Science doesn't know everything. So this is how you pick it. Let's see what I have. I have some notes here. The relation is also what I want to share. We live in this consumeristic culture of eating and actually shitting everything. So we don't need to overconsume. You don't actually need to pick this one. Start by relate, sit next to her, and just lower the barriers of thinking and park them and open up the feeling space, the feeling instinct. We all have it. So it's nothing you need to develop. It's here already within us. As long as we have a body, we have feeling. So, and just sit here and channel or open the possibility that she might start to send you some information, maybe not in words, but in feelings and maybe ideas and inspiration, inspire, inspirations. So that is how you start to connect and reconnect with nature. And it's nothing super complicated, I would say. You don't need a teacher necessarily or one of these shamans to show you everything. Use your feeling instinct, and then you cannot go wrong in that. It's also Carl von Linné noted this one, and it became one of his favorite plants because the taste is so different and strong. So he liked it a lot. And you can find it in, I know there are some French friends sitting here who was up here with me. We sat where I'm sitting now, right now, and I see them here. I know that you have in France also angelicas, and use that in liquors called Benedictine and Chartreuse, green Chartreuse. You recognize that? Yeah, they are nodding. I see them. So yeah, so the scent of green Chartreuse is very much this one. And it's said also that painters and artists, when they drank this absinthe, this green, more psychotropic drink, that it was some angelica with that as well. So, and we have these masters who painted this, exactly this green color, very green paintings, lovely paintings. They channeled surely this absent spirit of the things. Also, what is known for why we have these liquors is because of plague. So plague has been ravaging through Europe and the world and up here as well. So in order to what you use it for today is mainly for cough and like modern plagues. And in all times, we used it for the Black Plague. And rumors said, because of, was it in Trondheim, that wherever it grew, like they had these gardens of only this angelica in older times, so outside the houses, where that grew, then no Black Plague were present. Connecting to the take notes on what kind of plants you see outside houses and start to cultivate this one. And when I pick it with the seeds now, because she's forming seeds, I will show, maybe you can see here, it's a little bit of seeds, right? I put it in my specific little pouch. And I never take all of the seeds. I take seeds, but I leave 50%. This is actually important. And because it's her kids, so I leave them. I did it now too, because she has lots of seed falling off now. So I left them. It's her kids. I take 50 for my purposes. And then I cultivate, because this is how I've been taught by my relative. And he was illiterate. He couldn't read or write. So there were no chance he read these things. This is like oral knowledge that he gave to me. You keep 50 and then you cultivate. You go to a creek where you would like it to grow these angelicas, and you put them there. So this is how to operate. And these seeds that I have, I use in ceremonial purposes, also on my fireplace, because it is known as all angels to ward off bad spirits, lighten up the spirits of yourself, and protect, clean the air, protect the home. So this is also something you can hang above the door, in the lavvo, which is our tent, the tipi. I always put this in the lavvo. And then the seeds you can put in the fire as incense, instead of buying these globalistic important, not important, well, they are important, but the ones that we buy that is transported from afar with all these fumes and toxins involved. You go and look for this. It's so strong, and it has historical roots in our part of the world, and it actually works. So use this as an incense. You dry the seeds and then you use it on fireplace, or whatever, where you have where you want to clean the air, or so forth. Also, the thing that you can ward off interruptions, or if something hits you. My relative always chewed leaf. He also put it in his pouch when he was walking, and chewed the leaf in the spring, because then they are nicer in the spring. If he saw another human on the mountain on his walks, because it's kind of it wears off plague. It's anti-fungi, antibacterial, antivirus. So that's a good thing. And I also, just for the occasion, have it as a tea. So you can also put it hot water on the leaves and drink it. It's very good, perfumey. It's like a non-alcoholic chartreuse, basically. So that is good. Also, I studied a lot of healing properties, like homeopathy and traditional Chinese medicine. In China, it's called the female ginseng, because it's part of the big five, that foundations of Chinese medicine. Then they add other stuff. But this is a powerful Angelica sinensis foundation of the traditional Chinese medicine. So it's used also, like Kyrre showed the beautiful map of Chaga. It kind of follows the same borealic kind of belt around the globe. And also in homeopathy, it's used for cough, stomach ailments, the root usually, hormonal issues, usually for female hormonal issues. Also, if you're tired, because this plant can become around 2 meters high, and you see also the crown, the flower is big, so you can see it from afar, and it's very strong, and the scent makes you, even if it lowers your blood pressure, it makes you less tired when you walk long miles in the mountains. So it's really good for that as well. Yeah, is it something else I forgot? Yeah, the most important thing, almost, because we want to eat anyways. You can make the most beautiful ever sorbet ice cream if you pick mountain sorrel and add some angelica to that. Mountain sorrel is like this beautiful green color, and you mix it, and then it tastes very lemony, like a green lemon, basically, not a lime, but maybe a hybrid. And then you add some angelica to that. That's more of a spring thing, but you can pick it and keep it in the freezer and make the most delicious dessert from that. It's amazing. So if you have the possibilities, please try that. It's super simple. You don't need to cook. You just mix. pick and mix. Yeah, do I have anything more to say? And what's the time?
Still have a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes left, Åsa, if you want to talk.
What else can I say about this? Lots of stuff to say, of course. But it's also, yeah, what I'm going to do next, now when I sniffed the autumn, the shifting in seasons, is that I'm going to let it be for a bit. So the life force is now getting drawn back to the root. Then I will go and ask politely the queen to be picked. Not this one, because that root needs to stay to the next year, but I will walk by the rivers where I know there is abundant amounts of Angelica. And I will ask politely if someone wants to be of contribution to me. I get a no so many times, but you know, as these sales classes you can take, they always say the more no's you get, the closer to a yes you will come. You know, the bullshit. But in this case, it's actually true. So I ask and ask and ask, and all of a sudden, the most beautiful one will say, yes, I would love to be of contribution to you. And follow you home and be prepared for some elixirs that one can do. And when you take the root, it's you see that the whole plant will go down. It will disappear basically and sprout in the spring. And the root is you need to dry it first. You clean it and dry it, then put it in alcohol, or if you have issues with alcohol, you put it in apple vinegar. That's also very good. And let it sit for, well, 3 weeks something. And after that, you can start to take like a tea. I take like a kind of a tablespoon, put it in hot water, and then I have a very good tea. You can also, if you feel that you have some plague going on, you can rinse the mouth with it, if you like, and spit it out, and then have it as a tea, because it's very good for that too. And your breath will be amazing. Forget any of these mouth thingies, you know, they sell with toxins and preservatives and God knows. You just use that and you will smell like fantastic. So you will be huggable and kissable if you like as well. So depends what your purpose is, but also you feel better actually in the, and if you feel tired, as we do during the winter, it's a good pick-me-up remedy, I would say. It's really nice, and it has this nice summery, you get this flashbacks to when you walked the mountains in the summer. Is super nice. It's a good instant energizer actually. So what else? Put the sound on, Francis.
There we go. We are up to time. That's great. Good timing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. And thank you also to our other two speakers and guests today, Beate Ebeltoft and Franck. Now we actually come to the questions part. I will moderate questions from the audience, and for those of you that were a little bit late coming in, we were asking that if you do have a question, please raise your hand. Otherwise, you can also write a question in the chat, which John will moderate questions. So it's been really quite something listening to this remarkable knowledge that the speakers have shared with us this afternoon. So do we have any immediate questions? Anybody would like to put their hand up and ask? Or if not, we'll go straight to the chat.
We can get started with a question from the chat. We have a question from Walter Furness, who would like to ask all three speakers if you ever received denial of permission from the plants, and Åsa mentioned this as well. Do you receive denial of permission? And what is that like? How do you respond?
Shall I answer that one?
Sure.
Okay. Well, you just say thank you. I mean, that's how relationship works. You know, not everyone wants to be friend with you, basically. So just, okay, thank you, politely and kindly, and walk to the next one and ask. So that's it's kind of I get a heavy feeling in my body. It's like, no, if I have a yes, I get like a more light feeling in my body. So it's, again, forget about the thinking. Don't be smart about anything. That's unnecessary and not intellectual. Feel, open up the other. And also, I can recommend Ian McGilchrist, The Master and His Emissary, if you want to understand our brain, the halves and stuff like that, in order to understand thinking and feeling more. Thank you.
Lone?
Yes. First of all, it's I think it's a lot about how you approach the plant. And for me, I always sing. I go singing, this Sami way of singing that's called yoik. I call the plant. I call the medicine. And when I walk through the forest, and then the ones who are ready sort of shines. They sort of come up. And as Åsa also say, it's when you sit down with them and you connect with them, and you will get this heavy feeling in your body, or you can feel that the field of the plant is pulling closer to itself. It's not connecting to you. It's a very clear no. It's also ethics, depending on what plant, how much you take. I think also that also says people today are taking way too much of everything. Microdosing, like homeopathic doses, connecting with the plants in the spirit world, invite them into your dreams, your life. And most of these medicines, it's the less is more that is for true. With my plant that I'm talking of today, Amanita Muscaria, you only get ill when you take too much. And so it's like you connect to other humans. It's to build that relationship with trust, and this thing to always give something before you take. In this world today, we are taught about giving tobacco and these things, but on my land, tobacco is quite new, so we don't use that. We use, depending on what plant it is, it's either to use the songs, I love that, but you can also help the plant to spread, like Åsa says. We also, with the mushroom, if you have a grown mushroom that has the spores ready, you will spread it like that. You push it and the spores will fly. And also raising the awareness about the plants among the humans, especially Amanita, who is so demonized everywhere. Our kids are taught to step on it, and they say it's so poisonous that you should destroy everyone you see. Is to shift that consciousness and to help the plants, because they just want to help us. Thank you.
Lorna, I can add a little bit when you reminded me of the smoking stuff, and we don't have tobacco. This one.
Yeah, that's a good, in the pipe is perfect.
Traditionally, we didn't, that was very exclusive with the tobacco. But the leaves of this one is looking a little bit similar if you squint, basically. But anyways, you can smoke this one as well. Pipes we had a lot. And this is,
I say that, when the tobacco came to the northern parts of Europe, the Sami tribes embraced it. It was, but it's only about a couple of 100 years, I think. And I see a lot of the old pictures from the 1800s or 1850, or as soon as the pictures came, you can see especially old Sami women were smoking the pipe. And I think it's so cool. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Kyrre, would you like to respond to that? How do you respond to when it's a no from a plant?
I recognize what the elders are saying very much. I think I would like to draw the attention to in the very beginning, when I was starting to learn to know Chaga. And the clearest know I got was from a tree that, a Chaga that was on a tree that was dead. And that was a very strong no. Leave me alone. And that later I learned that when the tree dies, the Chaga is sporing, so it spreads. And also that it's something with the energy on the Chaga that's on a dead tree. It's how can I say this? It's not longer for us. It's not longer of this world. It kind of transcends to more of the spirit world. It's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, I hope it makes sense.
Thank you. Yes, we have a question about the relationship of the fungi to reindeer. Do reindeer graze Amanita and Chaga? I wonder as well about Chaga or Angelica as well. If you could help us understand that. And for all three speakers, please.
Yes, I can start because it's this iconic relationship with the Santa Claus and the flying reindeers, and the stories about how Santa Claus is the Amanita Muscaria. And I think it's quite proper to say that it's not like the reindeers eat Amanita and they fly. It's more like when the shaman, the Nuaidi, eat Amanita, it can look like the reindeers are flying. But the reindeers love Amanita. And also the cows and the sheep. I've seen them race towards an Amanita. I've seen sheep almost flying because they are straight for it. I've had fresh Amanita in my hand, and I haven't given them to the reindeers because the reindeers are now high up in the mountains in the free. So it's kind of hard to come close to them. But the sheep and the cows, they will race towards it. And most of the food for the reindeers in the fall is mushrooms of different kinds. And all these animals have 4 stomachs. You know, they have a different way of breaking down all this chemistry in the mushrooms, so they tolerate it a lot better. But of course, it's the Amanita can change your perspective on size, on in the physical world, and in the old times it was used as a traveling agent. So if you eat a lot of Amanita, it will turn off your sense of time. So if you eat Amanita when you have a long walk for 3 days to the next village, if I want to walk to Åsa and meet her in Giron, it will take me 3 days, maybe more. And then if I eat Amanita on the way, I will just maybe remember 3 hours, because it shuts the brain off in the after time. So you are there when you walk, conscious, clear, but you don't remember that you have been walking further. So it's a very interesting plant. Okay, Åsa?
I'm looking forward to welcome you here. Come.
I will. Do you see animals eating kvan?
Yeah, actually, I'm also a horse person. So yes, absolutely. But one also need to be really aware. Horses are no machines, you know, they are less machine. They are as little machines as we are. We need to have the education and the culture. My horse was super unique. She was brought up among older horses, and you know, lösdrift in Sweden. But anyways, it's in a huge pasture. So her mother was also the same, because they usually only value stallions and geldings, not the mares. So she could learn which plant when. And I followed her, and she taught me a lot. And I understood it's culture. It's not only nature, it's also culture. And that is the same for us. We need to relearn, educate, but then also we need to be in the nature to roll out our knowledge, but add feeling. That's the thing, that what we share and talk about, basically. Use that intelligence and instinct, then you cannot go wrong that much.
Thank you. And Kyrre, do we find wildlife, reindeer, and other animals eating chaga?
Not as far as I know, but I know it's been treated, used to treat dogs, and to mix chaga tea in their fodder, in their food, for different ailments, IBS in dogs, among other things.
Great. We have a question from Sania Wahid about plant consciousness and fungal consciousness. Do you feel that they are conscious when you interact with them?
Yes, of course they are. And in the indigenous communities before Christianity, and there was suddenly just one God, everything had consciousness. The animistic worldview is so strong with most people who live close to nature, not connected to any tribes or anything. It means that humans that live very close to nature, they will hear nature speak, they will feel nature speak, they will see nature speak. And nature does speak. And for the Amanita, especially, you see it pops up everywhere in the literature, in the consciousness of people. I have a Facebook group here in Norway called Amanita Muscaria and Chaga, and it has grown in 7 years, I think, from very few, very special people who were interested, and now we're about 5,000. And everyone is asking for the health benefits of that mushroom. So I guess it's the same for the others. What do you think, Åsa?
I also think it's a wellness culture that goes on overdrive as well. I also have Facebook groups about alternative and complementary medicine. So everyone, and that is what I'm a little bit against, not the groups or the interest, but the eating everything, stuffing yourself too much. As you say, Lorna, it's also the dosage. Less is absolutely more. And it's the same with this queen, because she's a little bit like the rhubarb with the oxal acid stuff, that you need to, if you eat too much, it can affect your kidneys, but too much is a lot. And this is so strong, the taste. So listen to your body. Don't overeat because your thinking is telling you that we need a lot of everything. No, we don't. Not overconsume, moderately everything. So yeah. So yeah, I will find your group and join it, by the way.
Great, thanks. We have a question from Amanda Bond, who's asking about when plants and fungi are growing close to pathways, is it that they are reaching out to us to remind us of our relationships to them? What would you say, Lona?
Yeah, yes, they are. And this is the intelligence of nature, because nature because we humans are so many now, and we make such a big impact on nature. Nature, Mama Nature, or Mataraka, as we call her, she is communicating to us, and she's the most giving, loving soul. So there are plants that is popping up now this time, especially Amanita. She grows on pathways, she grows near to schools, she grows near where people or house animals live. And I often find her high up in the mountains on the pathway, where the pathways cross, where there are two paths that cross each other. She always grows there. And we say that this is where you meet spirit also. So I think so. Åsa?
Yes, I agree. And when they are growing so close to where we move, it's so easy to spend some time with them. You know, it's have a relationship, communicate, start to reconnect to nature, because we are a lot of suffering from disconnection and loneliness, and that's kind of a, even WHO now start to have these warning signs of that we are dying from being lonely. So one can start to form relations with plants. That's like not so dangerous, and socially challenging. if you're more of an introvert, that's great, I would say. So yes, absolutely. And I will also want to say this one, groblad, what's that in English? I don't know, but that one loves to grow where we walk, because it's spread that way. In Russian, it's the walker's best friend, or the nomad's best friend. So it's one of those good ones. I would say yes. Shorter answer.
Well, thank you. And a question for Kyrre from Irene Protostota. How do you prepare the chaga when you find it and when you want to ingest it? How do you prepare chaga?
Today I use chaga mostly as a tincture, dissolved in alcohol, and that is because it's it uses less chaga. You can make more of it, so you don't have to take as much chaga for it. But you can also use it as a tea. You could simmer it for a couple of hours. On the Russian side of Sápmi, they simmer it all day on the stove, but it never boils. So that is important if you take it for medicinal or everyday purposes. When it's prepared for the ceremony, it's important that it boils.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyrre. And a question from Francis, please. Francis.
John, I have a question for each of the three speakers, actually. The first one is Lorna. You mentioned something really important about sitting out when you were using Amanita. I don't know whether or not you were referring to Vision Quest, or whether it was just sitting around a fire, you know, but I wondered if you could just briefly expand a little bit on that. And then also for Åsa, about the stems of the Angelica root. Is it right what I heard, that the Noides use them as flutes? There's a connection with that in the Sami tradition, from what I think I read somewhere about it once upon a time. And then the third question to Kyrre is that, did I understand correctly that chaga also grows on some other trees, but it can be quite poisonous? If you could say something about that. Thank you.
Yes. In this modern time, it's many funny words about sitting out. It's called Vision Quest and different things. And for us who live in nature, close to nature, we are out most of the time, especially in summer. And it's also a funny thing that we don't know about this free time. This is also not a Sami thing. You always do something. It's like so we don't have any fancy words for it. In the Norse tradition, it's called Toxicity. So you sit outside, preferably for a longer time. We don't have initiation rites like the Native Americans, because we are mostly outside in summer. Especially in winter, it can be cold, but that is also an experience. But when you want to connect to the plants who live in nature, it's pretty important to be where the plants are. And especially often people today need to get out of the mundane world. They want to, you need to get out of your normal environment to get a different experience. So today, this ute-sitting has many fancy words. But to connect with the plants and the spirit, you need to be in that space, that holy space, that space where all your senses are turned on. And it's better always to be outside if you can. this is where spirits can come easier to you. And these plants, especially Amanita and other master plants, as we call them, they will put you in that space between the dimensions. So it's an easier path. You can reach the same place in drum journeys or in meditation, of course, but there's a shortcut, and maybe the different plants take you to different rooms. I've been working with many of the master plants, and they all show me different aspects of that space. But it's important to be where the plants are. Thank you. Was that okay, Francis?
Very much for clarifying, Lorna. Thank you.
And then the flute. Yes, I did it as a kid. Of course, you can play with the plants and have flutes made by the older people who knows how to make them, or then you learn that way. It's culture. Here is, I don't know if you can see that, they are very hollow, you see. This is thinner, more like suitable for the mouth, because otherwise it's like more like a didgeridoo, the big one. It's very big. It's like a big. So this is the leaves I dried. I wish I could send the scent. So good, perfumey. But anyways, yes, the flute is not only noisy, but everyone.
Thank you, Åsa.
You asked me about chaga growing on other trees. Did I understand you correct, Francis? Yes. It can also grow on older, which isn't suitable for ingesting because of the then it gets a little bit poisonous, because chaga it kind of concentrates the chemicals from the tree it grows on. But instead, if you find chaga on older, you can use it in creams because it's very good for the skin, but not to ingest it. I also mentioned the oxalate content in chaga powder, because there has been, I think there's 2 cases where the people have died because they have ingested large amounts of powder and getting, well, their kidney have failed. So that goes again to what Åsa is saying, that do not take too much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We have a question from Eve Petrikito. A question for all 3 speakers. What do you think is the biggest challenge in preserving Sami plant knowledge and culture today?
First of all, it's society itself. Like civilization has hit us quite hard, and there's a lot of, and Christianity has hit us hard, and there was doctors coming up here, and these doctors are just interested in getting us to the pharmacies, and then we've been told by superiors that our medicine is very little value and not tested and not like this. So most of my elders, they already had forgotten most of the plants. I'm a part of a project with the university in Tromsø now. They are trying to collect plant knowledge from indigenous people all over Scandinavia and Iceland, and to preserve what little is left. So there's very remnants there. So there's something about raising the value of the indigenous knowledge or the local knowledge, because we are the land we live on. Our bodies are made from that land. Our medicine is on that land. Everything we need is there where we live. And this modern society is sort of pulling us out of our natural environment. I don't know, Åsa, what do you think?
I think now it's not, finally people are interested in our culture, I would say. When I grew up, I was totally bullied either to being a Sami, Lapp, or a Finn, and it was not good, either of it. Today I'm proud, you know, because people want to listen. Look at this seminar. What did you say, Francis? 181 participants only on our talk. I mean, that's something. So I think it's to find the authentic stories still around, and there's so many. You mentioned yourself, Lorna, that you're part of a good project in Tromsø University, and this project with the sentient forest is a very good one. So it's getting preserved. So the challenge is more to recall and get back the knowledge that was thrown under the bus hundreds and thousands of times and ridiculed and whatever in all times, but it survived in pockets. We need to find the pockets and tell the story from our point of view, not the outside, but from the inside. The thing is also that now when we talk, there's always a shadow side with everything. Now we're having this cozy seminar. It's super nice. I love it. And presenting our plants, respective plants. It's also a danger that it's getting trafficked, you know, like, because that's the reality. People are trafficking all these plants, ayahuasca and these poor frogs and whatever that they use in this shamanic, as I told, the wellness culture on overdrive. It's not the solution. It's to downgrade to the less is more, as we mentioned. The homeopathic mindset is way better than the consumeristic over-consuming. So I see that we need to educate us in this seminar. How do we approach? How do we thread on this land? Because it's ancestral and it's cultivated since thousands of years. It's not like it's a wilderness. No, we've been here for so long time. And we, as my ancestor told me, you take half of the seed and then you help the plant to spread it around. It's her kids. Then you take the other half for you, and then the other half to cultivate where you want it to grow. So this is oral knowledge, proof that Samis have been cultivated the mountains and the forests and the coasts forever, basically. So that's my proof of that. That I know that because I've been told so. So that's the thing. Well, yeah.
Thank you, Åsa. And Kyrre, what are some of the major challenges to traditional knowledge preservation in Sámi?
I think, in addition to some very valid points from Åsa, I think that the modern human has differed so far from nature. So it's I think it is to counteract it. It's important to kind of reinstate the relationship with nature in the modern human, and to also teach them the indigenous ways of thinking, indigenous ways to look at nature and life.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We have perhaps we can take one last question from Alessandra, who's interested in the idea of setting limits and is interested in maybe some more techniques of setting limits around our use of plants. So she says microdosing is a good example, respecting plants. Are there any other techniques that come to mind for our three speakers around using plants judiciously, not over harvesting, setting limits? Any responses there?
There is always a limit, because nature can only provide that much. And when people are like we up here in the north, we are very few people, and we used to be a lot fewer. We are hunter-gatherers. We move on bigger areas because the land is, we have very little earth up here. It's mostly stone, rocks, mountains. And nature can only provide for that many humans, both with food and plants and everything. So we can never take more than nature provides, because then it's gone and you will have nothing. So for us, 12,000 years of living up here, we used to know exactly how much we can take, how, as also say, how we spread them, help those plants thrive that are very important for us. And also not to interfere too much with earth. We are not farmers. We did not farm any plants. Like for me, farming is a way of forcing Mother Earth to produce something that is not natural on her land there. The nature up here in the north is very special. We are above the Arctic Circle. The sun is gone in the winter. We have like 8 months of winter here. Nature can only produce this much. And we see very quickly if we take too much, then it's gone. There's nothing. And to bring that awareness to people. Today we are so many humans and it's growing so quickly. And we cannot take that much anymore like we do now. And of course, there's different areas of land where we live. There's very little earth. Other places there can be meters of fertile ground, but we are also ripping that apart. We are also taking too much. So I don't know if humans are, if it's possible to learn that mindset, because we are now becoming so many that we are going into a herd mode and destruction. So it's very important for those of us who carry certain plants to talk very deep on behalf of the plants. And especially, Kyrre going to talk about Chaga. It takes maybe 20 years to grow. Amanita mushroom is not that hard because she lives under the earth. But we now start to plow the earth. We destroy the mycelium. We rip up the forest. Iceland, they cut down all the trees from the Viking Age and forward. Then the mushrooms disappeared. So now they're planting the trees are coming back. They put reindeers there, and now the mushroom is coming back. But it needs to learn, people needs to learn not taking too much. It's a very scary time for us now. Åsa?
Yeah, and I want to add, being a little bit of a gloomy type, needing this one to get more energized and happy. The thing is, the reality is that EU want to transform Sápmi to the White Congo. Speaking of mines, rare earth minerals, and here it's a real danger. Lorna, you talked about limited spaces like land. Well, if we turn everything to a mining pit up here, which is dangerous, and not to mention deep sea mining, the other level of craziness, it's not green. It's not green transition. And you spoke about mycelium. We have the logging industry destroying the World Wide Web of plants, which mushrooms are like the center points, the axis mundi of that. What else? Yeah, we have hydro electricity, wind farms with massive amount of concrete and 250 meters tall things packed with oils and whatnots, and they break regularly, and we have oil spills and stuff, and drying out the land. No mushrooms, nothing, because we need roads to each and every one of these things, and we need ditches on both sides, and that dries out everything. So it's a huge challenge, and it is real. The green transition is not the solution. I think we need to, I saw something about the limit things just flashing. Yes, we need to speak, be brave. We don't have brave politicians, and Indigenous people aren't strong in politics. We don't have the strong political voices. We need to create, though. And we need more hands on deck from non-Indigenous who can run with us and walk with us in this cause. So absolutely, how do we dare to speak about downgrowth? The 80s wasn't that bad. I was around. I had a good living conditions. But now everything is like massive. We can click home bullshit from China in a, like, this I could really speak about. But anyways, this one made me energetic. Yes, so that's a threat. And be brave to live less consumeristic. Think about, do you need everything? Do you need this? Or is it possible that we can make it, like make a spoon out of salix? That's a good one, for example. Headache tree packed with this headache thingy and acetyl salicylic acid. Yes, a good thing to start to carve. You have a perfectly fabulous spoon to have your food with, and it's like a painkiller. It's everything. So we need to go back. I'm happy to have Zooms educating in all of that and speak more in this matter, because it's so important, so important. And it's not only in the Arctic, it's all over the globe. But in the central urban places, you don't see it. There, the environment gets better when you swap to battery and things. But here we are the extracted ones. Again, green colonialism, basta. So, yeah.
And Kyrre, any final thoughts on this idea of setting limits to our growth and how that may be impacting Sámi?
Sorry, I had to push the button on the correct place. There is very, very strong voices in Sápmi, our youths who are heroes, and making a very, very clear voice at the time. What is the root cause of this consumerism? How did that happen? Might it be that since, in my opinion, humans lost their connection to Mother Earth, we try to fill that void with something else? I don't know.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Lone did send some images I'd like to show in closing. And Lone, feel free to add anything you'd like to about the images you sent of Amanita Muscaria.
Yeah, I would recommend, if you are very interested in Amanita Muscaria, check on the myth of Dionysus, because it's so much interest. You can see these are, I think this one, the lowest one with the Pope, is a new one, but the other ones are from churches. So that was sort of a center of the Christian religion also, the Amanita Muscaria. This is like more of fun. The Pope dresses like the Amanita. This is also Dionysus, who was always accompanied by a spotted beast, they say, which also takes me back to the Amanita, because he made a drink that was not alcohol, but it made like the Norse drink of poetry, the mead of poetry that made people make poems and songs. And Dionysus was like that. Then after that came Bacchus with alcohol, and that was a lot more demonic. And this is also a mural, very ancient one, 1600s, to show Adam and Eve and the tree of life. And these are my own images, and you can, my whole world is in there. Can you see how beautiful that is? It's like perfect. And this is like a little family of Amanitas, and they are coming up here. And for me, I cannot understand how people can think of this as a demonic plant or a demonic mushroom and teach the children to destroy them. There are no one ever who is proved dying from Amanita Muscaria poisoning. It's all myth. So this is my land, the forests here in the coastal areas, and I've taken these pictures, and I think you can see the love I have for this amazing mushroom. Sometimes she comes in abundance, and this was like a river running. And as you guys asked about do nature speak, and when you see this one, you really know that this plant is or this mushroom wants to be seen. She wants to be taken with you. And when I saw that running of those amanitas, I walked in the forest, and one came rolling down the hill and landed on front of my feet. So I went up there it was quite a steep hill, and then I found the rest of them. So she can speak that loud. This is a little smaller one. And have you ever seen anything so perfect? So I just want to encourage enthusiasm and love for your special plant. See who talks to you, who comes to you. Walk in nature. See what nature brings on your path. Because nature speaks so loudly if you just open your senses and are open for them. There are color variations also. I think this yellow one is more like an albino type. Up here we only have Muscaria and a couple of others. To warn you a little bit, the most deadly mushrooms are in the same species here. So if ever you're going to pick mushrooms, the red one is iconic. You cannot go wrong. But there are many others who are deadly. So and that goes also with many plants. Know your medicine in every way before you start to pick and ingest them. So this is happy me in the forest.
Thank you so much, Loni, and thank you so much to all of our three speakers for a really fascinating session and for your generous sharing of knowledge today. It means a lot, and we've had participants from almost every corner of the world. So it shows that there's a real resurgence of interest in plant knowledge. So thank you so much for joining us today. And in closing, I'd just like to promote our upcoming seminar in October on sauna cultures, plant magic and healing in Finland. And that will be the 16th of October, same time, 3 o'clock. And just to give you some images of those healing traditions. And so we have 3 speakers, and there's some historic archival images of sauna traditions in Finland. So if this sounds like an interesting topic, please join us. You can register by email, the same as you did for this seminar, sentientforestproject@gmail.com. We have 3 great speakers, experts on this topic, Dalva, Eero, and Timo. And so if you're interested, we look forward to seeing you in 2 months then for that seminar. Okay, so in closing, I'd like to once again thank our speakers and acknowledge the Kony Foundation in Helsinki that's made this programming possible, and wishing you all the best in finding your plant kin and your plant masters in your respective parts of the world. Thank you to Francis for beautifully emceeing the session, and thanks to our speakers. Until next time, take care and be well. Bye-bye.